What's going on? You're hanging out with PhiLL Kross, and we're back doing it. The show goes on, where we get the opportunity to connect with countless superstars, entertainment industry professionals, and see how they're navigating COVID-19. Today we're kicking it with a longtime good buddy of mine. I love him. Steve Greenberg is in the house. Before I bring Steve in, let me tell you a little bit about Steve. He's an American record producer. He served as the president of Columbia Records, where he produced the Jonas Brothers' debut album. Pretty cool. He was the head of A&R for Mercury Records, where he served as the executive producer for the Hanson single Mmmbop, and I loved that record. Steve is currently the CEO and founder of S-Curve Records, where he manages the pop band AJR. He's noted for discovering acts such as Hanson. They were huge. The Baha Men, Who Let the Dogs Out. Loved that one. Jonas Brothers, Joss Stone, Andy Grammer, and AJR. And he's also received multiple Grammy Awards. Now, here's a couple quick fun facts about S-Curve Records. Andy Grammer and We the Kings have had the most albums on that label, 4 albums each. So that's pretty cool, man. Those guys have really held it down for the label. And another fun fact, Who Let the Dogs Out? Steve is actually the bark, the roof in the Who Let the Dogs Out. Steve, are you there? Can we bring him in and can we get a bark, man?
Well, I mean, you can go listen to the record if you want to bark, but I did bark on the record. There's a story behind that. You know, we were producing that record, and the Baha Men, they're great singers and great musicians and everything, but they were terrible barkers. And I knew that the barking needed to be good on that record for it to be a hit. It's such an important part of the chorus. And so I kept trying to get them to bark the way I wanted them to bark, but they just couldn't bark that well. And I said, no, do it like this. And I did it a certain way. And they said, okay, Mr. Smart Aleck, if you think you're such a good barker, why don't you bark? And so I did. And so, you know, little did we know that it would be such an iconic record. But there you go. That's me barking on that record.
That is so cool, dude. I did not know. We've known each other for quite some time now, and I never knew that. I missed that one along the way. So learning that fun fact before getting going here, I'm going to be telling everybody that now. And anytime I hear Who Let the Dogs Out, I'm going to go, ah, Steve, you know. So couple quick questions for you. Again, thank you for coming on the show. It's an interesting time in the world, and it's great to connect with very established people like yourself. And get advice, get your wisdom, and get your thoughts to help lend and share that with other people that are a little bit confused and that could just use guidance, right? With all that being said, question number 1, is COVID-19 a natural phenomenon? Is it a military or government bioweapon? A conspiracy that was accidentally or purposely released by some secret society out there? Or is it the 5G network?
I'm pretty sure it's a natural biological disease and virus, and it's sad that it migrated from animals to people, but I'm pretty sure there was no nefarious, attempt to destroy the world or anything beyond it. I think that it's hit every country pretty bad, and I can't imagine anybody would have had an agenda to unleash that. I'm pretty sure it was naturally unleashed.
Out of all of them, you're going to say natural phenomenon.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we'll take it. So a lot of people in the music industry, they rely heavily on traveling, collaborating in person, and being in the room together, making music, having that in the room vibe while you're cutting a record. How has this affected your workflow as a musician, as a producer, as a CEO? Because you're the boss, man. How are you overcoming work during COVID-19?
Well, I do think that doing these Zoom calls, which are okay, they really are no substitute for being in the same room as people. And I think that you get that Zoom fatigue also when you're looking at your screen for too many hours a day. But on the collaborative front, we are at a point now where I think that, computer technology is so prevalent in making records that there's not a whole lot you can't do anymore. As long as everybody has good computer equipment. We've been moving forward with making records. AJR has been writing songs and recording them, and a lot of other artists that I work with have been doing the same. And it hasn't seemed to stop anybody. I mean, a lot of people have home studios and great setups and good microphones. And as long as you have those things, you can do it.
Awesome. Great to hear. And you're still doing it. You're actively still making music as well. I mean, obviously you're being a CEO.
I still produce some records, and we put out a lot of records that I'm not involved with producing, but we put out some that I am involved with producing. And Absolutely. We have some exciting projects coming up for the rest of the year, and some of them I've been involved with more creatively than others, and some of them I'm just involved with as an executive. But we love them all equally.
Awesome. And as somebody that's in the music industry, as a professional, how do you feel like we can support each other in the music industry during this time?
It's going to be really important to be supportive of the new ways that artists come up with for presenting their music in a live format. And I know that, somebody doing a live stream is not really a substitute for a live concert. But remember that the way that so many artists make their living is by performing concerts. And at some point, even if people can't congregate 500,000 people in a club or in a theater somewhere, we will be at a point where artists will be able to go into a studio or on a soundstage somewhere and perform a really good, high quality show. And if that high quality show has to be live streamed as opposed to being performed in front of a live audience, I do hope that the audiences will show their support and support artists that they like, and even pay for the experience so that artists can put some money in their pocket, because this period is going to really hurt artists a lot, in the fact that they can't go out there and play in front of people. So I think that's one of the ways we can be supportive of artists. As people come up with new ways to bring music to the public, I hope the public is responsive.
That is cool. Out of all the different ideas I've heard so far, I think that one's the best. I mean, I've had people reach out to me and say, "Hey man, we got to create this virtual thing. We got to create this right now for virtual concerts." Live Nation's already there. iHeart's already working with other people. But I feel like, and I had this conversation with Jason Flom in an episode, a few episodes back, where he had said, and I have to agree with him, that the vibe's a little bit different when you're in the club with all these people and if everybody's stuck in the screen. But what you're saying is that, hey, you're going to get a better experience because the artist is going to be there performing, rocking out live with all these different camera angles. You might even be able to have pyrotechnics or things that would drop from the ceiling.
Full production.
A full production that would happen, but everybody else is watching through the lens of their computer and still able to see this really high quality performance. And then maybe even after, they can pay for an experience if they want to buy, or meet them or ask a question, take a virtual picture.
There are companies out there that are developing ideas, around virtual meet and greets and, all those kinds of fan experiences. And I just think that, until we all can be together in a big crowded space with, everybody arm in arm singing along and sweating on each other and all that, we're going to have to come up with other ways to enjoy music. But luckily, I think that the musicians will be able to put on a high quality show and not just I'm on my bed with a acoustic guitar singing a song. That was kind of cool and nice. And it showed that musicians were stepping up and trying to be very supportive, which was really beautiful. But I think now at this point, people are a little bit like, okay, give me something a little bit better, than that.
Dude, I think that's a brilliant idea. The other thought too is how does this transcend and how does it go on? So if everybody's just doing the virtual thing like we're doing on Zoom, when the vaccine comes out, we're in the new normal until the vaccine comes out. So when the vaccine comes out, then everybody's back to normal and then the virtual thing disappears. But people that are investing in companies and technology, they don't want to see a short-term goal. They want to see a marathon. They want the long-term goal. And I think what you just said, you answered that equation for them, because it's like, hey, this can go on forever. We can continue to do virtual concerts forever, high quality, high end virtual concerts.
The kind of live streamed entertainment industry is going to suddenly exist where it didn't before.
I could see that going on forever. And I could even see the labels being willing to pay X amount of dollars to help support the performance to make that happen. And I think they would be able to see the money come back too, because it would be such a real, raw, unique and up close and personal experience. That's awesome, man. Great idea. For other people out there that are watching this that are a little scared, maybe they're in the room and they're not sure about what they should do. Quarantine life, even for us, even for me, the walls close in on you after a while. Do you have any advice for those guys that are a little bit freaking out? Maybe they're not speaking up, but they're still quarantined in. What would your advice be to those guys?
There are always silver linings to things. This has been a terrible period, obviously. But one of the silver linings is people do have time to think and to be creative and to write and to just, whatever your creative outlet is. I hope that people have taken some of this time and focused on whatever that thing is and done it. I know that a lot of artists who have been so disappointed because their tours got canceled and they were counting on being out on the road this spring, and instead they stayed home, and well, now they're home and they have a lot of time in their hands, so they write a lot of songs. And in some ways, those songs are songs that may never have existed if it wasn't for the fact that these people got to spend this time at home. So you look for silver linings where you can find them. The one piece of advice I would give is definitely get outside and do some exercise every day. I think now that the weather's nicer, it's a lot easier to do that. But, you know, I think, and stay in touch with your friends. Just, you know, call them up, reach out to them, because, you know, we live in a world, luckily, where you're never really alone if you don't want to be.
It's great to reconnect with you, Steve. And I almost feel like we're getting that catch-up experience at the same time while we're doing something fun as well. Follow Steve on all the social medias, S-Curve Records, NYC, to stay up to date with their artists, their upcoming releases. You guys have a plethora of really talented musicians and a lot of hit records.
We've been so lucky this spring because we have this phenomenon record that we're involved with, which is so exciting. Last summer, I made a record with an artist named Conqueror. And we brought in Shaggy as a feature on our record, and the record's called Banana. Cool. Out of nowhere, that's cool. It became the #1 song in the world on TikTok. It's got over 14, maybe 15 million now TikTok videos made to the song. It's in the top 5 in the world on Shazam. It's just starting to hit the radio in the US. And it's always fun to be involved in one of those lightning in a bottle phenomenon kind of records, you know. And this one looks to be one of those. So that's been the thing that's taken up a lot of our time this spring. Unexpected that it just sort of suddenly became such a crazy thing. Like all of the biggest TikTokers in the world have done dances to it. And, you know, let's see how far it can go. But it's been pretty exciting.
Well, we'll definitely look out for that record. And it is pretty wild, man, how TikTok, when I'm on the radio, all of the new music, anytime I hit a new music, it's like, in the beginning, when I do research on these songs, you know, you want to say a little something about them, but I feel like all of the new songs are TikTok, like all of them. Like this one was on TikTok, and now we're playing it on Z100. So I'm sure we'll be adding that record and playing it sooner than later. And look, hopefully when this all gets better, I want to make a record with you, man. You and I got to get in the studio and crank one of these babies out.
It's been too long. We have to do it.
Way too long. I would be honored to rock with you, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you. We really appreciate you coming on the show. I know all of our watchers at home, I'm sure after just watching this, I know that gave them a little bit more positive energy. And anytime we can spread more positivity, it's a beautiful thing all the way around. So I appreciate your time, Steve. I look forward to connecting with you soon. And thank you again for coming on and sharing some wisdom with us.
Thanks for having me. Be well.